Welcome to a podcast that dares to explore the very fabric of reality. Journey with us into the fascinating and speculative world of parallel universes and the intriguing possibility of connecting with your doppelgängers. Based on the book, The Great Awakening to Intentional Consciousness, we'll delve into the concepts of quantum entanglement, the multiverse, and the potential for a great awakening across these realities. Prepare to question your perceptions as we explore the infinite possibilities that may lie just beyond our everyday experience.
All right, so get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into this pretty complex world of quantum consciousness. This stuff's always good for getting those brain cells firing. And you guys sent us the first 11 pages of an ebook called The Great Awakening to Intentional Consciousness. And even from these first few pages, it's clear that this is going to be one wild ride.
Yeah, it's intriguing because this is really just the beginning. We're getting this little sneak peek into this much larger journey that's laid out in these 71 pages. And from what we see so far, the author's not holding back.
Not at all. I mean, right out of the gate, the author describes themselves as a doppelganger of my truest essence, traveling throughout my perception of this hashtag reality.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty bold statement.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely grabs your attention. You know, what I find so fascinating is how this statement immediately challenges how we usually think about identity. It kind of suggests that who we think we are might actually just be one layer of this, way more complex, multidimensional self.
It's like we're only seeing this tiny little piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Exactly, yeah. And to make things even more interesting, the author links this idea of this multifaceted self to the concept of quantum entanglement. They're suggesting that our doppelgängers, these other aspects of ourselves, could actually be connected through this really mind-boggling phenomenon.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to need a little refresher on quantum entanglement here.
Yeah.
It's one of those concepts that really makes my brain do backflips.
Sure. Think of it this way. Imagine two coins, right? And you flip them at the same time. No matter how far apart these two coins are, one always lands on heads and the other one always lands on tails.
Okay.
That's the basic idea behind quantum entanglement.
So these coins are linked in a way that goes beyond physical distance.
Exactly, precisely. It's spooky action at a distance, as, Einstein famously called it. And what the author's suggesting is that this entanglement might not just be happening with particles. It could actually extend to our very consciousness.
Okay, now that's where things start to get really interesting.
Yeah.
So how does this entanglement relate to us, the listeners, and our everyday lives? It's not like we're walking around flipping entangled coins all day long, right?
Well, that's where the author introduces another really fascinating idea, panpsychism. And this idea basically proposes that consciousness isn't just something that comes from our brains, but it's actually a fundamental property of the universe itself. So imagine a spectrum of awareness, right?
Okay.
From the tiniest subatomic particle all the way up to human consciousness and maybe even beyond.
So instead of consciousness being something that's unique to humans, it's actually woven into the fabric of reality itself. That's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
Oh, it is, yeah. It is. And it kind of opens up this whole new way of looking at our connection to the world around us. Suddenly the separation between ourselves and everything else starts to
a blur.
Yeah. And it kind of makes that whole doppelganger idea seem a little less out there, doesn't it?
If consciousness is everywhere, then maybe these other aspects of ourselves aren't so far-fetched after all.
Exactly, yeah. The author's basically weaving together this tapestry of interconnectedness, and quantum entanglement is one of the threads that's holding it all together. They're saying that we're not just these isolated individuals, but participants in this grand cosmic dance of consciousness.
Okay, so we've got this idea of doppelgängers connected through quantum entanglement, and consciousness is this fundamental property of the universe.
Yeah.
But where do parallel universes fit into all of this? I feel like we're about to step through the looking glass here.
Get ready, because this is where things get even wilder. The author dives headfirst into the concept of parallel universes, suggesting they're not just something out of science fiction, but a real possibility. And they propose that every choice we make, every decision, could actually be creating new branches of reality where different versions of ourselves exist.
Wait, hold on. So are you saying there's a universe out there where I actually finished writing that novel I started years ago, and another one where I took that trip to Nepal instead of just staying home?
That's exactly the mind-boggling implication. It forces us to rethink what free will really means and the impact of our choices. Are we shaping reality with every decision we make, or are we just passengers on this predetermined cosmic ride?
That's a lot to process. I mean, it's almost too much to even comprehend.
And remember, this is all just in the first 11 pages.
Wow.
The author is really just laying the groundwork for what's going to be a truly transformative exploration of consciousness.
Well, consider my curiosity officially piqued. This deep dive is already sending my brain into overdrive. I can't wait to see where it takes us next. Listeners, if you thought things were getting interesting, you better buckle up because we're just getting started.
So, we've been exploring this foundation that the author lays out in these first 11 pages of this ebook. And it's pretty clear that they're setting us up for something big, this idea of intentional consciousness.
Right.
But to get there, we really need to wrestle with what all these mind-bending concepts they're throwing at us. You know what they actually mean.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot to unpack. We've got doppelgängers, quantum entanglement, parallel universes. It's like we've walked onto the set of a sci-fi movie or something.
Yeah.
But you know what? I have to admit, I'm starting to kind of see how all of these pieces might actually fit together.
That's what I think is so cool about this kind of exploration, It challenges everything we think we know and makes us consider these possibilities that, we might have just dismissed before.
Okay, so let's say we just go with it for a minute. Let's say we entertain these ideas. If we really are connected to these other versions of ourselves in parallel universes, how could we actually tap into that connection? Do we need to build a time machine or learn astral projection? How do we do that?
Well, the author actually suggests something way more accessible. They explore techniques like meditation and setting intentions and even dream work as possible ways to connect with these alternate selves.
So instead of building some crazy contraption, we need to turn inwards and work with the power of our own minds.
Yeah.
That actually feels kind of empowering in a way.
It really does, yeah. And it really aligns with that whole emphasis on intentional consciousness. It's they're not just throwing these ideas out there as these theoretical concepts, but suggesting that we have an actual role to play in shaping our own reality.
Okay, but how does this connect back to all that quantum stuff we were talking about earlier? Are we saying that our thoughts can actually influence what happens in these parallel universes?
Well, the author makes this really fascinating connection between our intentions and the whole concept of quantum entanglement. Remember those interconnected coins always mirroring each other? Well, they're suggesting that our thoughts and intentions might actually act as a kind of quantum signal resonating with our doppelgängers in these other realities.
Okay, I think I'm going to need a little help wrapping my head around this one. So I'm visualizing myself writing that novel, right?
Okay.
Setting this really strong intention to make it happen. And somehow that's sending a message across the multiverse to my writer self in another reality, giving them a boost of inspiration.
It is a bold idea, right? And the author presents it more as an open question, an area to explore rather than a definitive answer. But think about it this way, if consciousness really is a fundamental property of the universe, like panpsychism suggests, then maybe our thoughts and intentions aren't just stuck inside our heads. Maybe they have this ripple effect that goes way beyond what we can actually see or perceive right now.
That's a pretty mind-blowing concept. But wouldn't that mean that our minds would be bombarded with thoughts and feelings from all our other selves? It seems kind of chaotic.
Well, the author addresses that by explaining that it's not a constant stream of, telepathic communication. It's more about these subtle energetic connections and synchronicities. It's tuning into a specific radio frequency, You might pick up static or these faint signals sometimes, but with practice and focus, you can learn to distinguish those and even amplify certain channels.
So it's less about actually hearing voices in our heads and more about paying attention to those moments of intuition, those kind of unexpected insights or connections that seem to just come out of nowhere.
Exactly. The author wants us to look at these experiences through the lens of something they call QuantSciousness, which is the idea that our consciousness is actually woven into the quantum realm. They're suggesting that these little nudges and synchronicities might actually be messages from these entangled selves guiding us towards our true potential.
This whole framework's starting to sound a lot like what people call the law of attraction. That idea that we can manifest what we want by focusing our thoughts and energy. Is the author basically giving this concept a quantum physics makeover?
Well, there are definitely some similarities there,
Yeah.
but I think what makes this author different is that they're grounding all of this in scientific principles and really emphasizing the interconnectedness of everything. They're not just saying, think positive and your dreams will come true. They're weaving together this complex tapestry of quantum physics, consciousness studies, and, ancient wisdom traditions to present a more nuanced and kind of holistic understanding of how we actually create our reality.
I really appreciate that the author isn't shying away from the big questions. They're really tackling some of the most profound mysteries of existence head on. But I have to ask, what about all the skeptics out there? Is there actually any scientific evidence to back up any of these claims?
Well, the author acknowledges that this is still like a very new frontier of exploration.
hmm
They draw upon emerging research in quantum biology, consciousness studies, even parapsychology, but they admit that a lot of this still needs further investigation.
So I guess we're not going to find a doppelganger detector on Amazon anytime soon.
Probably not.
Okay.
But what the author offers is a framework for understanding our own experiences. They encourage us to approach these ideas with an open mind, pay attention to synchronicities, and see what resonates with us personally.
I like that. It takes the pressure off needing to have all the answers and allows for a sense of curiosity and personal exploration.
Yeah.
Even if we never actually meet our doppelgangers or travel to parallel universes, just thinking about these ideas can be pretty transformative, don't you think?
I totally agree. It opens up this whole new world of possibilities and makes us question all these limitations we might have put on ourselves and our understanding of reality.
It makes you realize that maybe, just maybe, there's way more going on beneath the surface than we even realize.
And that's really the heart of this great awakening that the author's talking about. It's about recognizing how vast we really are and the incredible potential that we all have inside of us.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Quantum entanglement, consciousness as this universal force, the possibility of connecting with our doppelgangers in these parallel universes. It's definitely a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But there's still this one big question looming in my mind. What's the point of all this? What's the ultimate goal of this great awakening?
Mm.
We've been on this pretty incredible journey exploring these first 11 pages, and it really feels like the author is building towards something really significant. All this talk about doppelgangers, quantum entanglement, parallel universes, it's mind-blowing. But I'm really curious, where does it all lead? What's the final destination of this great awakening the author keeps talking about?
Well, that's where this whole idea of intentional consciousness comes in. The author is suggesting that this awakening isn't just about understanding these crazy concepts, it's about actually using that understanding to, shape our reality and create a better future.
So it's not enough to just, sit back and be amazed by the universe. We actually have to do something with this new knowledge.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. The author argues that we're at this, turning point in human history. They believe that as more people kind of wake up to their true potential and realize how interconnected we all are, we can actually change the course of our planet and create a more harmonious and sustainable world.
That sounds like a collective consciousness upgrade, right?
Yeah.
We all wake up, realize we're part of something much bigger than ourselves, and then we use that understanding to make positive changes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The author envisions this future where we've moved past all those limitations of our ego-driven mindset and tapped into this deeper source of compassion and creativity and collective action.
Okay, that's a beautiful vision, but let's be real for a second. The world is full of so much conflict, suffering, and people who seem totally fine with how things are. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we go from this, theoretical great awakening to actual, real change in the world?
Right, the author gets that. They acknowledge those challenges, but they also offer some hope. They believe that even small changes in individual consciousness can have a ripple effect, influencing the people around us and, eventually creating this tipping point towards positive change.
So it's not about convincing everyone to become quantum physics experts or meditation gurus or something. It's more about each of us finding our own way to contribute to this collective awakening.
Exactly, yeah. It could be through, simple acts of kindness or expressing ourselves creatively or standing up for what we believe in or just living with more awareness and intention. Every little thing we do, no matter how small, can help create that overall shift.
I'm starting to see how this ties back to what the author said at the beginning about being a doppelganger of our truest essence. It's like we're all these fragmented versions of our best selves. And this awakening is about bringing all those pieces together and stepping into our full potential.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's about realizing that we're not just separate individuals, but these interconnected parts of a larger consciousness. And when we align with that truth, we can unlock so much potential for healing, growth, and real transformation.
We've covered so much in this deep dive: quantum consciousness, the possibility of parallel universes, and this idea that we can actually shape our reality through intentional awareness. It's really mind-blowing stuff.
And, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've only explored the first 11 pages of the 71-page ebook. It's exciting to think about what other amazing ideas and transformative concepts are waiting for us in the rest of this book.
It just reminds us that this is really only the beginning of our exploration. Even if we don't have all the answers right now, just asking these questions, challenging what we think we know, and expanding our awareness is a powerful step in itself.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given us a taste of what's possible when we step outside the boundaries of our ordinary perception. It's an invitation to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep waking up to the incredible mystery and potential that's inside us and all around us.
This has been a truly incredible deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of quantum consciousness and the Great Awakening. We encourage you to keep an open mind, embrace the mystery, and keep diving deep into exploring your own consciousness. You never know what amazing discoveries await you along the way.
As we conclude our exploration of these mind-expanding possibilities, remember that the journey into the nature of reality and our interconnectedness is just beginning. If you were intrigued by the concepts of parallel universes, quantum entanglement, and the potential for a great awakening, be sure to like this episode and share it with others who might also find these ideas fascinating. To continue delving deep into these topics and join us for future explorations of consciousness and the multiverse, please subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us to awaken to the infinite potential within and beyond our perceived reality.